Welcome back to my top 10 countdown here for the last 10 days of 2016. Once per day, I'm sharing one of my top 10 business learnings from 2016, as well as some predictions or some projections of what's coming up here in 2017 and beyond for us in the transformation space. So, if you missed any of the previous three, you can look in the description of this video. I provided links to all three of them. And so I started with number 10. I'm counting down to number 1. So numbers 10, 9, and 8 are linked above. So definitely check those out at your fancy, at your leisure. And yay, yeah, Callan, great to have you on. Merry Christmas for sure. And yeah, pretty slow, quiet kind of a Christmas here. No kids here this year. Of course, I had my niece Effie here last Christmas, so it was a lot more. Anyway, Christmas was a lot more fun with kids around for sure. But I got one cool thing here. My girlfriend's stepdad, he decided he's an artist and very skilled, talented guy, and he decided to take his first ever crack at a soapstone carving. And check out what the guy made me for Christmas here. It's his first ever time carving with soapstone. He made me, knows I love animals and stuff, so he carved me a wolf's head out of soapstone. Amazing, eh? Anyway, so that's the highlight of my Christmas thus far. Oh, sorry, that was loud. But back to business. Okay, what are we doing? Well, this is learning number 7 here, where I'm going to speak to a trend that actually had a big part in starting in our industry. But well, I'll get to that. But I'm going to then transition into sharing some thoughts on where I see this trend going in the next couple of years. And I'm referring to this trend as the era of elegance. And what I mean by this is that you may have noticed that over the last 2, 3, 4, some window of time in recent years, that there's been a transition in our space where people are leaders in our community, like myself and Callan Rush, my business partner, and many others. We've been investing a lot of our time, energy, and money into increasing the production value or the production quality of our marketing content. So, you might notice that sales pages nowadays are becoming more and more elegant. They're becoming more and more beautiful. The layout and the colors and the design and the branding. So I'm not meant to, or I'm not meaning to suggest in any way, shape, or form that, like on a sales page, that there's not as much pressure as there ever was for the copy to be really great, or for the video, the scripting of the video to be good. Of course, the message has to be solid for sure. But what we're noticing more and more is that elegance is out converting, ugly or a lack of elegance. And so, this was something in our space anyway that definitely we were, I think, one of the core players in initiating this trend a few years ago. We did a launch about a year and a half ago for a program called The Leap, and we really pushed the bounds of this idea of elegance. And one of the ways that we did that was with our sales page. We created just a work of art. And of course, before I go taking too much credit for that, the copy on that page was very elegant. I did not write it. Callan Rush did. She happens to be watching this video, so kudos to you, Callan, for the copy on that page. And the page itself was not designed by me either. It was designed by a woman named Risa Murgatroyd and her team, talented group. And to their credit, Marisa and her team, they had been preaching this movement into the the importance of design and elegance and things like that. Marisa has been saying that for many years, and working with some clients doing great work. And it just so happens, I think, that when we had them do that page, that was the very first time where one of her pages met with the degree of exposure that we tend to get in our launches. So just had a really significant impact on our business for sure, but on the space in its entirety. And even though with some of these ideas, again, I'm just trying not to give myself too much credit here, because if you look at our space and just kind of go out a little bit wider, there's a woman named Marie Forleo who's really been, in my opinion, the originator of this movement in the transformation space with regards to elegance and the importance of design and stuff, and the quality of marketing content, the production quality, I mean. And even if you go a little bit bigger, I mean, I think that my opinion is that the Apple brand itself has been really the key initiator and the key driver, and the ripple effect has been seen through many markets, not just ours. But it wasn't all that long ago. Like if you were learning internet marketing, as an example, at the same time I was, which wasn't all that long ago, you would have learned at that time that in most cases, that ugly converted better than pretty. Of course, I'm speaking in very general terms, but more often than not, it was actually lack of elegance that out converted. Things looking pretty, and many of us, what I learned anyway, and when I first started teaching some of the things we teach now, we would have taught people, hey, you're better off making it ugly. But times have changed. And definitely we're right smack in the middle, as I see it, right smack in the middle of this idea of the era of elegance. So in 2005, 2015, sorry, not only did we create the sales page, but the videos. This is where you may have noticed the trend really picking up over the last year and a half in our space. I set about with that Leap launch back in, I think it was May of last year, of really changing the way video is used in our space. And so if you happen to see that launch, you remember. If not, I'll explain it to you. It's when we were the first ones to start using a lot of what they call BRoll and a lot of stock footage to communicate the emotionality of the story and of the lessons and the elements that I was teaching. And it's interesting, like at that time, it was really my first time being on video in any big way, so my delivery in the videos was actually kind of clumsy, like relatively speaking. It wasn't like I was, my delivery on the videos wasn't all that great. I was a bit even awkward, you might say. However, all of the B-roll footage that we got. So an example, if I was telling a story about having a meeting with my team, as opposed to it just being my face to camera like you see right now, you would have saw footage of me sitting at a table with my team in a meeting, maybe with a flip chart or something. And if I was talking about, being out to dinner with Callan and our team, you would have seen footage of us in a restaurant, sitting around a table, having a good time or whatever. If I was talking about being in the gym, or you would have seen footage of me at the gym. If I was talking about, I remember a couple of times I used as a metaphor, I told some stories about my training in martial arts, where then you would have seen footage of me actually in the dojo sparring or training or whatever. And that's what's called B-roll. And then stock footage is just like random. I'm talking about a business meeting, you just see two random people in that context. So a lot of this, really starting to push the bounds of what was happening in our space at the time. Then, so we did this massive, it was a big success. It was like a $4 million launch. At the time, it was like the biggest thing that our little community had seen anyway. And then there's a gentleman named Jeff Walker who approached me and said, wow, those videos, that was really inspiring. I'm going to really up my game. And then it was, only a few months later that Jeff Walker, he upped the game again with his talented son Daniel producing his videos. And his videos, if you remember, we're paying attention at the time, his videos were even much, much better than the Leap videos. And so he did this amazing thing. And now it's very quickly, to keep in mind that Leap launch was only a year and a half ago. Now it's commonplace, right? You see Christian Michelson, Lisa Sasevich, Evan Pagan, Bill Barron, Ryan Levesque, Stu McLaren, Ryan Eliason. It's like all of the leaders in our space are now investing a lot of time, a lot of their energy, a lot of their money in producing videos like that. Is more expensive than not. So they're investing a lot of their time, energy, and money into increasing the quality, the production value, the production quality of their marketing content. So now where does this go next? Again, I'll tell you a funny story actually, because again, even with those Leap videos, I don't want to be taking all the credit here. How I came about the commitment to do that was out of a conversation with a gentleman named Stu McLaren, who you may know. And so he was doing some advising for a couple of clients that he had at the time, and they were in completely different markets. One was in dog training, and another one, I can't remember what it was. And so it came out of a conversation I had. He had already started playing around with this idea in some other markets, and they're having huge success. and I just decided to commit to it. And then, he introduced me to a video producer, a guy named Dean Rainey, who we still use to this day for all of our videos, him and his team. And I remember, I'll never forget, he and I went out for dinner the night before we started the video shoot for those Leap, for the launch videos. And I said to him, I said, you know what, like, this has never been done in our space. And I said, you know what, my favorite thing about this is I'm going to look like an absolute genius here, and you're going to do all the work. Because I don't know the first thing about video production or quality. I just made the commitment to do it, but I went out and found someone who does know. Of course, Dean Rainey was the brains behind the actual videos themselves. I didn't have anything to do with that. I don't know anything about video, nor do I aspire to. So anyway, really, my point is, yeah, we were initiators in all this, but really, we didn't have anything to do with it. Marisa Murgatroyd and her team with all our visuals, Dean Rainey and his team did all the videos, and now, our community, our space looks entirely different than it did a year and a half ago. It's amazing. So that's the trend. But so where is this going? Because that's where the big learning here is. Or I won't even say learning, because this is just my opinion. This isn't anything that I've proven or whatever. This is just where I see this going next. So the next phase of this era of elegance, as I'm calling it, there's about to be a new movement of which I intend our business to be at the forefront of, and it's in increasing the production value or the production quality of the paid content that people consume. So that be your programs and that you're selling, or the products that you're selling. These need to match the production value of the marketing content. Because what's happening right now, and some people, there's a few of us who who have been implementing this, who know the numbers and what's happening behind the scenes. But something you may not have guessed is that when there's this big value on the production in the marketing content or stuff that we're giving away for free, that sets an expectation for what's coming next, right? What people are actually investing in. Well, what's happening for the most part in our space is there's a lag now. We have these people that have, including us, who have completely changed the way that we put ourselves out there with regards to our marketing. But then the programs that we're leading into, especially the digital stuff like members areas and videos, trainings and stuff like that, that tends to still have a real lack of production quality to it, or production value. Usually just voiceovers to PowerPoint slides or whatever. So what's happening is because of that, there's an incongruence there. So what's happening is that cancellation rates actually start to rise, because there's an expectation that the quality on the back end is going to be as good as the front end, which is natural, of course. And in some cases, that expectation wouldn't be there had the production quality not been so good on the front end. So it can kind of bite you in the butt a little bit if you don't have that follow through. So I think that's where this trend is going, and what you're going to see now is an arms race, so to speak. I don't know if that's quite the right way to phrase it, but you're going to see the leaders in our community putting a lot of time and attention and even investing money into the production quality, the production value of their paid programs, of the content that they're giving away in their paid programs. So one of the things that I want to stress about this, though, is my fear in communicating this. I'm excited by it, frankly. I think it's long overdue. However, I suspect that some people will use it as a reason to not get started, or use it as just another kind of a inner game block to getting out there, getting your message out there and whatnot. I don't see it that way, because none of this is meant to replace a message. Meaning that just because, better production quality converts better, it's not in lieu of the message itself. It's not like you can take you can't take a crappy message and paint it up all pretty and put it out there and expect that it's going to do well. But a really great message given to someone at the right time will still convert just fine, even if it's not wrapped in a pretty bow. So hopefully that makes sense. So definitely don't let this is something to if you're just starting out, is to aspire to. You don't got to do all this stuff right out of the gate. Just know, this is the trend that's been occurring, and then this is where I see it heading next. and hopefully you're using it as an inspiration, not as an excuse to get moving or to get started. You know, because just take a look. You know, this is the fourth video I've done in this series. Of course, this one right now in the time of shooting doesn't have much in the way of likes and comments and shares. But if you look back at the three I just did them over the last 3 days. There's no production quality here, right? The lighting isn't particularly good. I clearly haven't shaven forever. I've been showering at the very least. I just had a shower, so we're good there. But you know, haven't been prettying myself up per se. You know, the camera's at the wrong angle here. I'm kind of looking down at you. You know, I'm looking at myself and the screen, so my eyes are off center. I mean, this is not a well-produced video yet. I believe, obviously I'm a bit biased, but the content is good, and it's been getting, if you go back and look at the previous videos, which you should if you haven't seen them, thousands and thousands of views, tons of comments and shares and likes and loves and wows and all those crazy things, just because the message is good, right? So there's still room for that. It's not like everything you produce, you have to put all of this effort and invest money into. But just know that, especially when it comes to your primary marketing campaigns, launches, optimized webinar sequence, or whatever other campaigns that you're doing, the key ones, you know, the ones that are the lifeblood of your business, it's going to behoove you moving forward to be putting more and more and more onus, attention, and yes, even a financial investment into the production quality of those elements. And then, like I said, the next phase, making sure you're doing the same thing on the back end as well, that you're meeting that expectation. If you got great production quality on the front end, make sure you got it on the back end as well. And then the last thing I'll say about where I see this going, the kind of thing I've been thinking of lately is, you know, where do I see this going, you know, beyond the next couple of years? And I'm anticipating, again, this is just no more than a slightly educated guess, but I'm anticipating seeing things like launch videos, as an example, not maybe have any face-to-camera actual teaching, that they'll be more like documentary or even movie trailer style. Because one of the elements that I would like for you to consider when it comes to this production quality, production value, one of the qualities of it is entertainment. That, you know, it's not all about just your message and what you can teach people. People are going to take it in and absorb it and watch more of your videos if they're being entertained while they're watching. And so that's the downside of a video like this. I bet, you know, even if I go back to the very first video, it's had, I don't know, 5,000 views, something like that. If I were able to go back and track, you know, how much of the video every person watched, it would probably be relatively low compared to like a launch video or something. And the reason would be, you know, not that this message is any weaker or anything like that. Just simply it's not as entertaining, right? It's just my head on a screen. Sure, I've got this pretty thing in the background, but that's about it, right? So that lack of entertainment value, I suspect, would be having people pay attention less and learning less. So keep that in mind. Entertainment, you know, someone years ago coined the term edutainment, which is the idea of this combining entertainment and education. And I suspect that as we move forward in the transformation space, that entertainment piece of it is going to become more and more and more and more important and more significant. So that's it. I'll let you get back to your family or your friends or even yourself, or whatever it is that you're doing. If you're taking it easy, just hanging up, you know, watching some TV or doing some work, whatever you're doing, fine with me for sure. And so peace be to you. Thanks for watching this video. Until next time, be brilliant, and I'll be back tomorrow with learning number 6. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye.